You are tuned in to the LowBand Show, broadcasting from the storm drains under the big city, where a tunnel crew runs this booth on salvaged gear, pipes humming, steady water dripping, piping surface science and tech news on a low-band signal through the drains. I'm your host, Max Hertz. Welcome in. Here's what we do. We take real science and tech news from the surface, summarize it, then go deeper to educate, entertain, and shed light on what's in store for our collective future. News from the net, clear signal, and a little tunnel. If you came for hype, you took a wrong turn at the storm drain. Welcome in, low band listeners. Max Hertz here, underground and on the air. Wiz, good to have you in the booth today for this lineup.
Good to be back, Max. I'm ready when you are.
Today, we're looking at autonomous drones in combat, human walking preferences, and rapid EV charging across Europe. We'll also dive into the increase in threats against politicians following social media rule changes, and Google's liability for AI-generated misinformation. Real surface news, truth first, with the usual tunnel commentary. Let's get into it. Here's the breakdown. A report from New Scientist published June 10th, 2026, claims that fully autonomous drones have killed human soldiers for the first time. This marks a significant and concerning milestone in warfare, Wiz. From their report, fully autonomous drones with no human oversight have killed soldiers on the battlefield for the first time. This is according to a senior figure in the Ukrainian defense industry, marking a watershed moment in warfare.
A watershed moment indeed. The core claim here is a definitive first, based on a single source in the defense industry. That's a hefty weight on one set of shoulders.
The article continues, describing a one-off test that involved 10 AI-controlled Terminator drones on the front line of the Ukraine war, resulting in Russian soldiers being killed. Wiz, for listeners who may not be familiar, what exactly are these Terminator drones?
The Terminator, in this context, refers to quadcopter drones programmed to operate autonomously. They fly a predetermined distance, then switch into an AI-driven Terminator mode that actively searches for and engages targets with no human intervention. Essentially, it sees and it kills.
The drone maker Alexander Kokonovsky is quoted, "We just launch it, and we know everything will be dead. Everything that will be found there in this particular area will be dead. There is no connection to the drone at all. You cannot see the video. Nothing. Everything it sees will be killed."
That's a chillingly direct statement of intent and capability. The no connection to the drone at all part means absolute autonomy, making verification post-engagement crucial and difficult.
Because there was no way to observe, human-piloted drones were sent in afterward to check results. Kokonovsky states, "Victims included a couple of soldiers, one truck." He notes he wasn't personally present, and the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense did not respond to questions about the test.
The reliance on post hoc verification, combined with no official government comment, certainly leaves room for interpretation about the watershed claim. It's a test, one that yielded lethal results, but the full implications are still unfolding.
The details remain somewhat opaque, but it certainly raises critical questions for the future. The findings, published in Nature Communications on June 10th, 2026, reveal that humans prefer to walk anti-clockwise. This research, stemming from the University of Navarra in Spain and the University of Tokyo, has fascinating implications for how we design public spaces and manage crowds with. Specifically, if you simply ask someone to start walking, whether they are wandering around a museum, a supermarket, or even an empty room, it is surprisingly likely that they will drift counterclockwise, said Dr. Inaki Echeverria Horte at University of Navarra in Spain.
So, the collective human wander is actually a gentle, predictable spiral. It seems we're all just a little bit left-leaning, even when we don't intend to be.
The revelation owes a debt to serendipity. During the pandemic, researchers ran experiments to see how many people could share a space while keeping a safe distance. On reviewing the video, they noticed that crowds overwhelmingly walked in an anti-clockwise direction.
It's always the unexpected observation that cracks open a new field of study. Turns out, trying to keep people apart showed us how we naturally move together. Quite the irony, really.
Suspecting that cultural norms might play a role, the team joined forces with Dr. Claudio Feliciani at the University of Tokyo. Wiz, for listeners who may not know, what's notable about the University of Tokyo?
The University of Tokyo is Japan's premier university, renowned globally for its research and academic excellence. Their involvement here confirms the consistency of this bias. They found the same results in Japan, even when accounting for right-handedness and right eye dominance.
Researchers think the tendency may be tied to biomechanics. People are not perfectly symmetrical, and the way the brain processes sensory information and coordinates muscles may gently tip walkers toward one side. Right side dominance may also play a role, especially in running.
The biomechanical explanation makes sense. We're not perfectly engineered machines. Subtle asymmetries in our bodies or brain processing could easily manifest as a consistent drift. It's a testament to the complexity of seemingly simple actions.
While they've tested several ideas, the exact mechanism behind this persistent anti-clockwise bias is still an open question. We don't know the full story yet. The headline promises a lot for electric vehicle owners, and it comes from The Verge, reporting on June 10th, 2026, that BYD plans to install thousands of 5-minute EV chargers across Europe. This is a bold move to expand charging infrastructure, Wiz.
3,000 chargers capable of a 5-minute charge is a significant jump, especially when you consider the existing infrastructure. It's certainly ambitious to roll this out across the continent.
The financial commitment is equally substantial. The Financial Times reports that at an estimated cost of 580,000 euros per charger, the total spend would be roughly $2 billion to install this network. Wiz, for listeners who may not know, what exactly is BYD?
BYD is a major Chinese manufacturer, best known for electric vehicles and batteries. They've been gaining ground globally against established players like Tesla. This move into charging infrastructure shows their intent to become a full ecosystem provider.
These flash chargers are significantly more powerful than what many are used to, clocking in at 1,500 kilowatts, compared to Tesla's 500 kilowatts V4 superchargers. The article also notes that BYD says its chargers shouldn't add undue strain to the energy grid, as they'll charge cars from batteries, which can be topped up overnight. What are flash chargers, Wiz?
Flash chargers are simply the brand name BYD is using for these ultra-fast charging stations. The key is the ultra-fast part. 1,500 kilowatts is a serious amount of power, enabling those 5-minute charges for compatible vehicles. It's a way to mitigate grid impact by buffering the load with on-site batteries.
Any car with a standard CCS charge port can use the flash chargers, though only BYD cars equipped with the company's new Blade battery can hit the top speeds. Right now, there's only one of those in Europe, the 115,000 euro Denza Z9 GT. It charges to 70% in 5 minutes on the new chargers.
So, while accessible to all CCS vehicles, the full 5-minute charge promise is currently locked to a very specific high-end BYD model. That limits the immediate impact for most EV owners, but it clearly showcases the potential for future BYD models.
While the technology is certainly impressive, the real-world impact across Europe will depend on the broader adoption of compatible vehicles and the ongoing expansion of this network. The headline promises a lot about how social media policy changes impact real-world safety. New research from the Center for Countering Digital Hate, published January 7, 2025, suggests that threats against politicians tripled after Meta changed its speech rules. This study has crucial implications for online discourse, Wiz. Last year, Meta overhauled its rules, claiming they had been over-enforcing our rules, limiting legitimate political debate and censoring too much trivial content. Joel Kaplan, Meta's chief global affairs officer, wrote this in a blog post at the time.
That statement from Kaplan is a familiar justification for platforms easing content moderation. The implied trade-off is often legitimate debate for less censorship. The reality, as we'll see, usually looks different.
The CCDH's new research found that some categories of abusive comments saw even sharper rises. Violent threats and hate speech, for instance, quadrupled in the 6 months after the new rules were put in place. Wiz, for listeners who may not know, what exactly is the CCDH?
The Center for Countering Digital Hate is a nonprofit that researches and advocates against online misinformation and hate. Their findings here show a predictable outcome. Relaxed content rules and the volume of abusive content increases. Quadrupling is a significant jump.
The report cites specific examples of gendered and racist abuse directed at lawmakers, like U.S. Representatives Jasmine Crockett of Texas and Byron Daniels of Florida. Notably, these comments were not taken down by Meta.
It's one thing to have a policy change. It's another entirely for direct, targeted abuse against specific lawmakers to persist unmoderated. That suggests the legitimate debate Meta aimed to protect now includes harassment.
The CCDH researchers also found that threats against President Trump more than doubled in the 6 months after Meta overhauled its rules. Comments that violated Meta's policies around violent threats quadrupled from 1,800 to 7,600. And hate speech comments also quadrupled from 6,900 to 30,000.
The scale of increase across these categories is stark. From violent threats to hate speech, the numbers quadrupled or doubled. This isn't just a marginal shift, it's a dramatic escalation in harmful content.
While these findings present a clear trend, the long-term impacts on political discourse and the effectiveness of future moderation efforts remain somewhat uncertain. We'll be keeping an eye on how these platforms adapt. The headline promises a lot about accountability in AI, and it comes from The Decoder, reporting on June 11th, 2026, that a German court is holding Google directly liable for false claims in its AI overviews. This could set a significant precedent for how AI-generated content is regulated, Wiz. The case involved AI overviews falsely linking two publishers to scams and shady business practices, with the court rejecting Google's argument that users could simply check the sources themselves.
Right. Google's old argument of just check the source doesn't fly when the AI is essentially fabricating claims. It's not just pointing to content, it's creating new questionable content.
The court's reasoning is that these AI overviews don't work like traditional search results. The AI rewrites and judges results in its own words and according to its own structure. They even found the AI overview made claims that are not even made in the search results.
That's the key. The AI is an active participant here, a content generator. It's not a passive index, it's an author. And authors are usually responsible for what they publish.
Wiz, for listeners who may not know, what exactly is the BGH, or Federal Court of Justice, that the Munich court examined for existing rulings?
The BGH is Germany's Supreme Court for civil and criminal cases, akin to a federal appeals court, or even a kind of Supreme Court for the federal judiciary there. Its rulings set national precedents.
The Munich court found that the BGH's reasoning for limited liability in traditional search engines, where they merely made third-party content findable, doesn't apply to AI overviews. Those overviews generate independent, new, and substantive statements by evaluating and combining content from various third-party sites. Google also argued at the hearing that users knew that information generated with AI should not be blindly trusted. The court firmly rejected this notion, stating the AI overview is by no means absolutely necessary for using the internet.
It's the digital equivalent of saying buyer beware when you're selling a product you built. The court correctly recognized that Google built the system, so it owns the output.
This ruling from Germany could certainly open the door for similar legal challenges elsewhere, but it's still early days, and the long-term impact on AI overview features remains to be seen. All right, that's our board for today. We started with the unsettling implications of autonomous drones and the critical questions they raise about future oversight. Then we explored the curious case of why humans tend to walk anti-clockwise, a bias still under investigation regarding its biomechanical roots. We also looked at BYD's rapid EV chargers, a promising technology whose real-world impact hinges on broader adoption. the conversation shifted to the significant rise in threats against politicians following Meta's speech rule changes, a trend with uncertain long-term consequences. And finally, a German court held Google liable for false AI overview answers, a ruling that could have far-reaching effects on generative AI features. Each of these stories leaves us with intriguing open questions and evolving situations. We'll continue to track these developments and bring you more insights and updates as the signal comes through.
It's certainly a lot to consider. If we missed an angle or you have further questions on these topics, please drop us a comment. We read them down here in the tunnel. And if this signal helped you stay informed, a like or subscribe keeps the pipes humming. More surface news and deeper dives are coming through the grate soon. Until then, stay curious, and we'll catch you next time on the Low Band Show.